A very warm welcome to everyone tuning in from across the globe for this much anticipated Rugby World Cup 2027 draw, and we can't wait to see where everyone's teams will end up. In a few moments we'll reveal all of the pools where the 24 teams that have qualified for this Rugby World Cup will end up, and of course that first match in Perth on the 1st of October of 2027. We can't wait already. Joining me to bring this pools draw to you are the chair of World Rugby and former Australian international Brett Robinson, James Slipper, 151 caps, the most capped Australian Wallaby of all time, Alicia Lucas, the Olympic gold medalist from 2016 in Rio, and two-time World Cup winning champion All Blacks legend Dan Carter. We've allowed him into the studio to help with this as well. Thanks so much to all of you for joining us. Brett, we'll start with you. Just tell us how big an event this will be, Rugby World Cup 2027 back in Australia.
Oh, look, Morgs, as World Rugby Chair, I couldn't be more excited. As Alicia said earlier, we've just had an unbelievable Women's World Cup in England, and to be, a couple of years out now of this iconic, amazing event, I couldn't be more proud. 24 teams now, over seven cities, over 6 weeks, 52 matches, a round of 16. World Rugby are all about creating iconic events like World Rugby that unite rugby. We are truly a great global game and change lives, and we're looking forward to another World Cup changing people's lives.
And James, over to you. You played in 4 World Cups. How important will that home support be for the Wallabies team?
Oh, it'll be very important, Morgs, and as you said, I've been to 4 World Cups and I've never had the opportunity to play in a home World Cup, so that itself is a massive opportunity for this Wallaby group going into 2027. What to expect? Every time you pull on that Wallaby jersey, you play with pride, your passion, the effort's going to be there. Dealing with the pressure that comes with the home World Cup, that's going to be telling, and that's something that I'm backing the boys to get over really quickly, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be that #1 supporter there at every game and supporting the boys, so I'm really excited.
Now, Alicia, we mentioned your iconic Olympic gold medal in 2016 with the Sevens team. Tell us how big these events are and how hard it is to be in those sorts of competitions.
Yeah, well, just like the Olympics, the Rugby World Cup comes around every 4 years, and it's the pinnacle. It's what you train for, you want to compete in and you want to be a part of. And I'm so excited that the Rugby World Cup is coming to Australia so that the Australian public gets to see how global our game is and how exciting our fans are, and they get a real taste of the ends of the earth that get brought together for this big global competition. It's going to be phenomenal, and it's going to be hard work for those that's going to hold that trophy at the end of the day, but it's really exciting.
Well, you mentioned the trophy, and Dan, you've lifted my friend here twice. Tell us what it's like for a player, but also for the world of rugby, this competition that's coming.
Yeah, Morgs, great to be here, and these Rugby World Cups are different. They are the pinnacle of any professional rugby player playing the game. They want to be involved in a Rugby World Cup, but not just professional rugby players, but also the young boys and girls that pick up a rugby ball and fall in love with our game. And that reminds me of when I was 5 years of age, the 1987, the inaugural Rugby World Cup. As a 5-year-old boy watching that World Cup, all I wanted to do was be an All Black and play in a Rugby World Cup. And I was really lucky to play in 4 Rugby World Cups, and not just the success, but also the setbacks and disappointments and the lessons that I learned really shaped me, not just as a rugby player, but also as a person. So 24 teams that have all earned the right to be here, are all eager to add to Rugby World Cup history. So I know we're supporting different teams, but may the best team win.
Well, you referenced it, 24 teams. For the first time ever, we have 24 teams at a Rugby World Cup. Dan Carter talks about individual stories, collective stories. Well, there's many more to come of those. Let's take a look at the 24 teams. Based on their world rankings as of this past, the 1st of December 2025, the 24 teams have been placed into 4 bands of 6 teams according to their rankings. And let's have a look at through to repechage, and they did an outstanding job to make it through. But we, of course, want to know what we're going to do with those teams. What pools will they end up in? Starting from band 4, teams in these bands will randomly be drawn and placed in pools. And, you know, this is the most important part that we want to see about where the team you support ends up. Pools A, B, C, D, E and F. So one team from each of those 4 bands into those. And, of course, Australia as hosts, they will be pre-placed from band 2 into Pool A. The hosts are in Pool A, and James Slipper there confirming that the hosts will slip straight in there as Pool A, the second team into there. Before we get started with the draw, we of course want to acknowledge that we have our scrutineer here from BDO to make sure, they've already made sure that all of the teams have been placed into the correct buckets, and they will also be supervising to make sure that we do the right thing in drawing these out randomly so that you can be confident your team is placed where they should be. So now it's time for the exciting part. Where will your team end up in their Rugby World Cup pool? Let's kick off the draw. Now, what we will do straight away is go to the great man himself, Dan Carter, will draw out the 6 teams from band 4. The first team drawn will go straight into Pool F. Dan, if you can pull out the first team, band 4, Pool F, who will it be?
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. They will return to the Rugby World Cup via their win in the Africa Men's Cup Champions competition. The first time in over 35 years after last appearing at the tournament in 1991. Dan, who from band 4 will now go into Pool E.
Samoa.
Samoa, we mentioned how hard it was for them to get there. The last team to qualify for Men's Rugby World Cup, with 2027 Australia marking their 10th appearance at rugby's pinnacle competition, having featured in every tournament since 1991. Dan, who's going into Pool D?
Portugal.
Portugal, their qualification marks their 3rd Rugby World Cup appearance, backing up from an impressive campaign in 2023. Pool C, Dan Carter, from this band 4 cohort, please.
Canada.
Canada take part in their 10th Rugby World Cup, returning after missing the last edition in 2023. They will aim to replicate history in Australia by reaching the knockout phase, which they did in 1991. Who's next, Dan, out of band 4?
Romania.
Romania will make their 10th appearance at the tournament, further cementing their legacy in the competition. And if we've done it right, Dan Carter, the last team to come out into Pool A should be
Hong Kong, China.
Hong Kong, China. They'll make their Rugby World Cup debut after winning the Asia Rugby Men's Championship, making history as only the 2nd ever side to qualify for the tournament from Asia. Well done, Dan. Successfully done there for all those band 4 nations. Now over to you, Alicia Lucas. No pressure, no pressure. Dan showed it's very, very doable. So, of course, now your first team that comes out from band 3 will go into Pool F.
Tonga.
Tonga will come straight into Pool F. They'll take part in their 10th Rugby World Cup, having competed in every single edition bar the one in 1991. Good work mixing it up. We'll draw that one out. This will be for Pool E.
USA.
They're the USA Men's Rugby World Cup hosts for 2031. The USA will appear in their 9th Rugby World Cup, having last competed at Japan 2019. Next one out will be Pool D.
Uruguay.
Uruguay return for their 6th Rugby World Cup after winning the Sudamericano in 2025. Great to see them back at a Rugby World Cup. The next team to come out, Alicia Lucas, will be
Spain.
Spain will take part in their 2nd Rugby World Cup and their first in the 21st century. After last competing at the tournament in 1999, a huge milestone for Spanish rugby, and they're very welcome at the Rugby World Cup in 2027. Georgia go into Pool B. They booked their spot as winners of the Rugby Europe Men's Championship, qualifying for their 7th consecutive Rugby World Cup, 24 years after their debut in Australia in 2003. And Alicia Lucas, who do we have that will come out and go into?
Chile.
Chile go into Pool A. And of course, remembering that Australia are already in there. Chile, outstanding in making their Rugby World Cup in 2023, became the 23rd team to qualify by beating Samoa in a 2-leg playoff, ensuring a record 5 teams from the Americas will appear in the Australia 2027 lineup. Well done, Alicia. You got through the work there. Now the pressure goes on to the great man himself, James Slipper. Band 2, a lot of quality there. The rankings from 7 to 12.
Definitely.
Remembering Australia already done. The first one out will go into Pool F.
Wales.
Wales go into Pool F, the 3-time semi-finalists and ever-present Wales return for their 11th Rugby World Cup. Pool E, please, James Slipper, from this Band 2. Japan, they'll be aiming to replicate history in Australia by reaching the quarterfinals, a feat that they achieved as hosts in 2019. They go into Pool E. Pool D now from James Slipper, and he has pulled out
Scotland
have played at every Rugby World Cup and are aiming to beat that 4th place finish they achieved in 1991. Pool C now from Band 2.
Fiji,
3-time quarter-finalists. Fiji will be aiming for at least the Final 4 as they return for their 10th attempt at Rugby World Cup glory. Italy have not missed a World Cup and hope to reach the knockout stage for the very first time at Australia 2027. Well done, James Slipper. And now, of course, with Australia already being in Pool A, you're starting to see who your preferred team will be playing. And the Big 6 now, Band 1. And we go to the boss, of course, World Rugby Chair, Brett Robinson. Who is he going to pull out? Pool F, Band 1, the first team into Pool F to complete that pool.
England.
Is England. They'll be looking to replicate their success from the last Rugby World Cup hosted by Australia back in 2003, where they lifted the trophy for their first and only time. Pool E from the Band 1 cohort, please.
France
have been the runner-up 3 times, and after a painful ending as hosts in 2023, they are well placed to go one step further when they come down to Australia in 2027.
Ireland,
8-time quarter-finalists. Ireland are back for their 11th attempt at Rugby World Cup glory. They'll be a well-supported team. Into Pool C, Band 1 to join Canada, Fiji and Spain.
Argentina.
They've appeared at every Rugby World Cup to date, and their impressive current form has them primed to better their 3rd-place playoff victory in 2007 in France. Pool B, there's some big names left.
South Africa.
There they are, the 4-time Rugby World Cup champions. South Africa will be looking to become the first to win 3 consecutive tournaments after those outstanding successes in 2019 and 2023. And then if we've done this right, and our scrutineers will be happy, in Pool A will be
New Zealand.
3-time Men's Rugby World Cup winners, New Zealand, will be looking to go a step further than their 1-point final loss in France in 2023. All 24 of our teams are now placed into their pools. And of course, the big names came out very, very late there. That concludes the draw for Rugby World Cup 2027. Rugby fans, you now know who those teams will be playing in those pools. Thank you to Dan and Alicia, to Slips and Brett for all of your help. Take a moment now to review those pools in their entirety and see who will be facing off against who. It's going to be absolutely thrilling in Pool A, New Zealand and Australia. I think the great Dan Carter might have predicted that. Chile and Hong Kong, China join them. Hong Kong, China, what a great opportunity for them in their first ever Rugby World Cup. The best team in the world, South Africa head Pool B, up against Italy, Georgia and Romania. Argentina very much informed in Pool C, have Fiji, Spain and Canada to face. Pool D, Ireland and Scotland. Gee, they know each other well, don't they? Up against Uruguay and Portugal. Pool E, France will face Japan, the USA and Samoa. And Pool F, England up against the neighbours, Wales. They'll travel all the way to Australia to play each other. They'll play Tonga and Zimbabwe on their return to Rugby World Cup. It's going to be an absolutely thrilling Rugby World Cup pool stage where we will go through those first 3 matches for each of our teams and see who can get to this exciting first ever time that we have a round of 16 at a Rugby World Cup. The top 2 teams, of course, from each pool, along with the 4 best third place finishers, will advance to the knockout phase of the competition, which means that every single match of this Rugby World Cup pool stage will be hugely important. So everyone, whether you're here in Australia or all the way around the world, you know where your team is playing and who they're up against. Thank you so much for being part of what we've done here today. That wraps up what we're trying to do around the pools draw for Rugby World Cup 2027. But there's so much more to come as we are under 2 years away from the Rugby World Cup that will be here in Australia. That journey towards Rugby World Cup 2027 continues with the match schedule, the all-important knowledge of when and where your teams will be playing. That'll be unveiled on the 3rd of February 2026, followed by pre-sale tickets going on sale from the 18th of February. If you haven't signed up yet, make sure to visit www.rugbyworldcup.com. If you're not like Dan Carter and getting free tickets, make sure you register for the exclusive pre-sale, your chance to be part of this worldwide celebration of the great game that we love, rugby union.